Do you have a kit that stays set up that you seem to like the most? And I guess there's a snare drum question in there too.
It's a Frankenstein kit, you know,
Okay.
and again, that depends too. Like if I'm doing garagey kind of stuff and I want an old school sound, you're gonna laugh at this. My wife has a beautiful set of 70, I think 1976 set of big R Rogers.
Oh, nice.
And they sound great, like Mitch Mitchell. It's got,
Absolutely.
coated heads and they ring like crazy, which sounds great. And I'll use that for like garage rock kind of stuff. It's got a 24-inch kick, which sounds great. And what is it? The snare, the Rogers snare, the Dyna,
Oh, the
is it
Dynasonic?
Dynasonic? Great snare. I love it. It's great.
That's one snare that I do not own. I've got Superphonics, I've got Black Beauty knockoffs, I've got Slingerland brass, a bunch of brass snares, etc. I have yet to own a Dynasonic because the snare mechanism was
Yeah.
so antiquated. I was like,
I don't know
if
what it
I
is either. So you know
if
what I did? I took it off. I don't know what that thing is. Somebody answer that for me. I don't know.
I don't
I,
know.
funny thing is, I have two of them. I had one anyway, and then she had one, but hers was in better shape. Mine was
Ah,
all apart, and then I had the tech. I don't know. I wound up in pieces. So anyway, I used hers, and it sounds so great. And
interesting.
yeah, and then for the typical rock stuff, I use it's not the Superphonic. It's an older Ludwig.
Hmm.
It's from like 64, 65.
Okay.
Uh, the
Not the Acrolite, not the Superphonic.
ac- Acrolite.
Oh, there
That's
you
the one.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. And that thing, playing it live, it sucks. It doesn't have any love at all.
Yeah.
But when I record with it, it comes alive and it can be any kind of snare you want it to be.
Hmm.
I mean, just by turning one lug, it sounds giant. You know what I mean? It's amazing. It sounds so good. But live, I don't like it.
Hmm.
So I'll use that for 99% of recording.
Wow.
And then I have, remember Peace Drums? Remember that company, Peace from
Yeah.
California? I got a nice maple, 22-inch maple, I think 22 by 18 depth, um, maple shell kick drum that I'll
Mhm.
use. And I typically live, I like 26. It's, the Bonzo thing. I
Right.
love. But recording it, you're stuck with that. You can't really undo that. But with
Hmm.
I can make it sound like that or not. If it's something fast, the 26 really, it's too floppy.
Right.
It's floppy, especially for the Bitchwax stuff. And I've tried it, and it just sounds like a mess. It gets lost in the mix.
Right.
The smaller drums record better for me
Hmm.
anyway. And I'll use typically a 13-inch rack, the piece rack, or I have an old Ludwig from an accent kit, cheap, a 13-inch rack tom. That sounds great with the white coated head. I like
Uh-huh.
white recording with white coated heads.
Yeah, me too.
The ambassador or emperor
Right. Single ply or double ply, whichever way you want to
single
go.
I love, but they don't last long, but they sound
Right.
great.
Yes.
And then a 16 and 18
Yep.
floor, and two crashes, right, left, and a rod and a hat. That's it.
Right.
Simple kit. But anyway, so that's mainly what I'll use is that Ludwig Acrolite and that 22-inch kick, and I'll interchange the toms, the rack tom depends what I need it for, but typically I'll use the 13-inch Ludwig accent, which is not it's a cheapo tom, but it just records really well. It does what I want it to do.
Right. Right.
And then for live, then I'll use like with Magnet, I'll use the clear
This light
Vistal.
kits. Yeah.
Yeah, which I love. Great live, looks cool.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I really, when I first got it, I really wanted it to record well, and not for it didn't for me. It was just, and again, it was too sloppy, even for the Magnet stuff, which is not as intricate as like the Bitchwax stuff. It's more slow groove stuff, but
Yeah.
it just didn't come across. And but it's cool live. I love it. And for the Bitchwax live stuff, I'll use an accent kit, it's a beater kit, because there's no text or anything like that. We're on our own.
Right.
We We do everything. We don't have a merch guy or nothing in the States. In Europe, we have a guy.
Right.
But so I'm a terrible drum tech. It's the 26-inch kick, the 13 rack, 16, 18, like a champagne sparkle. I think it used to be silver, but now it's champagne from all the cigarette smoke.
Right.
You know. Anyway, it was like $700. I was like, I gotta get this. Had the 26-inch kick. I beat the shit out of it. Throwing it. I don't mean playing it. I mean, obviously,
Right.
yeah, but like on the road.
Yeah.
I change the heads when I have to.
Yeah.
And it just works, and I don't worry about it. I'll replace the screw or whatever. It's not that hard to keep it up and running.
Right. Right.
The Vista lights, I worry about every little thing.
Everything.
Oh my God, I'm going to scratch it. When
Crack. God forbid you get a crack in the shell.
oh, that no, I mean, even scratching a crack in the shell, I'd be pissed. I think they make them a little thicker than they used to in the
They
stuff.
do, and they're even like sonically more solid, like tonality wise. Because I
Yeah.
had one from that was 70, and it was a little wonky. Like the
Yeah.
bearing, like it was a little wonky. It had definitely a sound, but to your point, I tried recording with it, and it sounded a little strange. But live, just in the mix, it was
Yeah.
always cool. I got compliments on it all the time, but it didn't record very well, and it was a little inconsistent with that. But yeah, the new ones are it's a different thing.
Right. And and with Magnet, I'll have a drum tech and everything, and they're really careful. Use the microfiber cloth. Don't use a rag. I'm sweating. A towel.
Right.
Uh, when I first got them, my God, I was every little fingerprint. It drove me nuts. It was, you know, it's like a new car. You want it to sparkle.
Right. Right. With the studio recording stuff, I mean, it's always a learning experience as well to be recording yourself and literally looking at the waveforms and seeing at times what little idiosyncratic tendencies you might have in your own playing. I know for me, every time it comes down to recording double bass sections or something like that, I'm like, oh, fuck. One note is a little off, maybe either in volume or just, rhythmically. And I prefer just getting it right rather than quantizing stuff and like trying to map everything to a grid. But, yeah, that's one of those learning experiences where you're like, you think you got it, and then you're like, God damn it, that I have a tendency to do this one stupid thing, and you got to work it out. It's the way it goes.
Right. And yeah, exactly. And usually when I'm doing drums and when I'm recording drums, I will be by myself,
Yes.
which is nice because then
Nice.
I don't have to, nobody's judging me, looking over my shoulder, like I present it when I'm ready to present it, which is
Yes.
very convenient.
Right.
But so if I'm and exactly that, I have bad habits, that you don't realize while you're playing, but when you listen back and you're not actually in the moment, you can
Yeah.
hear idiosyncrasies. I don't give a shit, man. I go in there and I'll do surgery.
Yeah.
I don't care. I want it to sound right,
I hear you. I hear
Sometimes
you.
you don't know, right away until you start mixing and the stuff is layered on top of it.
Right.
It's way past the point of re-recording or anything, and you have to go in and do surgery. You got to move stuff around and make it right, and
Yeah.
you can't know that right away. A
Yeah.
lot of times, like if there's no bass on it yet.
With the Monster Magnet recordings, were there any of those that were super stressful for on your behalf?
No, not really. We rehearse the shit out of it. We do a lot of pre-production,
Nice.
uh, and that really makes it a lot easier as far as performance and stuff like that. So you get to focus more on sounds,
Yes.
which, is something you really can't rehearse until you're in the studio
Yeah.
and they're doing it, where the rubber meets the road, you get to focus your energy on that, not worry about, how am I going to play this? You're not distracted by that. You got that all worked out.
Uh-huh.
So no, we're very with Magnet, very tedious, and we go over every little thing. We don't let anything slip through the cracks,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
which is great. And last album we did here, which was great because you're not paying $5,000 a minute,
Yeah.
because that's that's stressful if you're holding shit up and it's costing money,
Big time.
that's really stressful.
Yeah.
So, and again, I got to do a lot of the drums by myself,
Nice.
and then present it. And, and as far as like grid editing and stuff like that, I don't like to do that unless it's that type of a song,
Uh-huh.
you know. But if it's like a garage rock song or something like that,
Yeah.
something or little punk rock edge to it or something, I won't do that.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
strike me as a player both in the studio and especially live. As well, we've also talked about it, the 70s drummers and those recordings and stuff that we both dig. And there's a lot
yeah,
of live energy in the drum performances and everybody's performances from that era. That seems
right.
like something that, because some guys are like, when I go in the studio, like I am a studio player, and it's like that's cool. There's amazing guys that just do studio work, and I marvel at that too. I feel like the projects that you play in, especially with Bitchwax, like part of the performance in the studio is to have some of that live energy. So
Whatever the tempo of the song might be, we'll have a start off click and then mute it and
nix it.
just and then record the drums, let the push and pull happen,
Yeah,
and no click. So editing down the road, it's not that difficult, but you don't want to even have to do that. You want to especially if you're going to track the rhythm guitar, or one rhythm guitar and most of the bass. It's nice to just record it live like that.